Welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This podcast is dedicated to helping individuals have a successful bookkeeping, accounting, and tax business. I'm Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, your host, and I'm excited to have as part of our episode today someone that I'm sure you're going to find very special. Now, real quickly, just as an introduction to Universal, the sponsor of this episode, Universal happens to be a post-secondary accounting school for accounting professionals who are interested in specializing in premier accounting services. It offers the training, resources, certifications, coaching, support, and mentoring needed for individuals to start and build successful accounting businesses and do so with confidence and competence to get paid what they're worth, offering quality accounting services. Myself, Roger Knecht, I've been doing this now for over 20 years, working with accounting professionals, helping them actually start and build their accounting businesses, having the careers that they've wanted for basically the idea of helping them achieve goals that they may have felt are unrealistic or unattainable, but now they're able to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves. Now, in this process, one of the things that I want to suggest is take a moment, grab a pen and paper, and as you listen in, hear what we have to say and take some good notes as to how these may actually apply to you. Now, as for the podcast, this is actually designed, as I stated, to help accounting professionals confidently and competently offer quality accounting services to get paid what they're worth. So listen to our other episodes, subscribe to the podcast, and make the most of this experience as we speak to experts, individuals who have successfully applied these principles in their careers and built the premier accounting business. Now, today we have James Molfetas. Now, James, I hope I said that right. How did I do on your last name?
You did very well.
Good. Now, James, you actually happen to be someone I'm quite excited to have on the show because you're a chartered accountant who left the accounting profession back in 2011 to concentrate on internet marketing. And I think that's something that everyone's interested in. And basically, it's with the intent of processing and selling goods and services online, because that's what, the whole idea of the internet is. Now, in his 30-year financial career, he was a financial director in both private and listed companies, as well as a partner in 3 small partner audit practices. And James happens to be an international #1 best-selling author of marketing books, helping accounting professionals get more clients and sell more products and services by leveraging the internet, which I'm sure is going to be an exciting topic. He is an international #1 bestseller of Accounting Clients on Tap, and recently Regular Clients from LinkedIn, also available as a bestseller. Now, James is basically an entrepreneur at heart. He's been one since him being very young. He's one that's actually started and created a number of companies. He started selling oranges he picked from a tree in his backyard to passerbys when he was 8 years old, and he went on to establish a number of flea markets and craft markets where he helped thousands of traders make a living in the area. He also established his own brand of 10 DVD rental stores, which he sold before the industry collapsed, and that is something that has gone the way of the gone away over the years. And today he coaches accounting professionals to get a minimum of 2 clients every month by using proprietary regular accounting client blueprint methods. Now, he does regular webinars, and James is a CEO and founder and trainer of the sales funnel implementation company Regular Clients, and he used to be a provincial chess player in his youth and loves performing magic tricks for those with kids. So obviously quite diverse here. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Roger. Much appreciated.
Yeah, so this is going to be kind of interesting. You obviously had the entrepreneurial bug because back in your youth, like you said, you were selling the fruit to the passerbys. But what got you interested in accounting when you were just looking at careers and studies? What took you to the path of becoming a chartered accountant originally?
Probably money, if I'm honest. So as a kid, in South Africa, back in the day, because obviously I'm from South Africa. When I finished school, I got to the point and I said, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I went to do some military service. That's something that I did. And after a year of military service, I realized that I was still no closer to making a decision. And so my mother whisked me off for some aptitude tests. And they came back and they said, your son should be an accountant or an engineer. And I said, engineer, you got to be kidding. And so I'm an accountant. And that's how it all started. And as you've touched on, I've always been an entrepreneur. So, that story of picking oranges when I was 8 years old, it was actually quite funny. Well, I thought it was funny. My mother didn't think it was so funny because we had very, very dangerous snakes called a boomslang in South Africa. And if you had one bite of those things, you would just die. And I could actually see these boomslangs in the tree as I was picking oranges. And I was bobbing and weaving. So you see, even as an 8-year-old, entrepreneurial life is fraught with danger.
Well, we'll call it adventure for that. How about that?
We'll call it adventure. Yeah, adventure.
Yes. Danger, adventure. At a young age of 8, I'm sure you didn't see it as danger, but I'm sure you were enthralled by the adventure of it all.
Yeah, I knew it could kill me, though. I was bobbing and weaving much better.
Good. So now the question is would you go to the orange tree and pick the orange?
Heck no. I'm old and risk averse now.
There you go.
Not so much anymore.
That's the chartered accountant peeking through. Okay. So here you are, a chartered accountant. You'd finished the studies. You've gotten into the profession. You're now well-grounded. Why the entrepreneurial idea of going out on your own?
I think in my accounting life, I think there were two events that were quite pivotal. So as I've said, I'm very much an entrepreneurial chartered accountant, and so the corporate life is not something that agrees with me particularly well. And I got out of the profession actually fairly early on, and by hook or by crook, I met someone who approached me and said, come on, James, come and help me. My practice is growing. And like, I burst out laughing. I have to be honest with you. I said, you have to be joking. There's no way I'm going back into the profession. I literally burst out laughing. And then the more I started to think about it, the more I thought, but you know what? I don't have to do all that ticking and bashing that we do when we first start. And so I agreed to give it a 3-month trial. And after 3 months, I really started to enjoy it because what I was then doing was I was working with other entrepreneurs. And so drafting balance sheets and doing tax returns and that sort of thing, that was just sort of by the by. But my real passion was dealing with those entrepreneurs and helping them grow their business. And so that was great for quite a number of years. And then we had the Enron debacle, as you'll probably remember. And that really changed my world quite a lot because if you recall, for those of you that remember, the standard setters went a little bit crazy, and they basically said to us as a profession, well, if you guys can't look after yourselves, we'll regulate you. And they went mad. And so we went through that spate of changes where we literally had to actually go and relearn what we had learned, when we first became accountants and we qualified. And so I was already quite grumpy with life. I wasn't feeling that I was adding value to my clients anymore. There was a lot of regulation, red tape, some really interesting fee discussions when you go and speak to clients and you tell them that they're going to pay double for the same balance sheet as last year. And then shortly after that, we had the recession, and we had a really, really nice practice. And in that recession, we lost quite a few big clients to the recession. And that was quite devastating. And in fact, I actually only left the profession because I was almost forced to. So I hadn't been paid a salary for 8 straight months. I should have left earlier than I did. But, I'd spent 10 years building the practice. And the reality is neither myself nor my fellow partners knew how to replace those clients. And so with a really, really heavy heart, I literally walked away with nothing.
Yeah.
10 years building a practice and I had to go. And it was at that time, funny enough, I saw a quote by Bill Gates, which today would be about 30 years ago, when he said that if your business is not online, you'll be out of business. Didn't realize just how prophetic that was, and that's probably why he's got more money than everybody listening to this podcast put together, because he has that sort of insight. But there was something there that resonated with me, and I could see that was going to happen. And so I decided to go and study this phenomenon called internet marketing. And if I'm honest with you,
please,
I'm telling the whole world here. I kind of followed the silver bullet, right? So I love those ads with hot chicks in bikinis and Ferraris and yachts, and I like the idea of getting up in my underwear and pressing some buttons and like money flowing into my accounts. Alas, that didn't happen. But I gave it a go. Trust me, I gave it a go. I bought all of the products, and I learned all the tricks of the trade. And after a few months, I realized, okay, look, let's go back to basics. You are an accountant. You're supposed to be an intelligent person after all. Let's go back to that, shall we? And so I did. And then I really started to study online marketing properly. And I probably spent 2 years, literally 7 days a week, sitting in front of my computer, anywhere from 8 to 14 hours a day, just learning and studying, because I genuinely love what I do. And so it was never a hardship for me. And it was like reverse multi-level marketing hell. That's how I explain it. So I'd learn something, and then I'd realize I needed to learn 2 more things, and then I'd learn 2 more things, and I'd have to go out and buy courses to learn another 4 things. And this process, this torture, literally went on for about 2 years. And after 2 years, I realized that I wasn't learning anything new, and that was such a revelation. And so I had all this knowledge, right?
Yep.
I knew all this stuff, but I didn't know what to do with it because I didn't understand how it was supposed to fit together. And so it was around about that time that I took on a mentor, which was probably the best thing I could do. Took about 6 months, and then all the pieces fell into place. And from there, it was plain sailing. And that's actually when I wrote my first book, which was all about sales funnels. So that was called Infinite Sales Funnels. At the time, it was more geared towards products and services, products than services, I should say.
Uh-huh.
And so it was a great stepping stone for me, because what I did is I went into the South African marketplace, and I went to all the CPD or CPE, depending on where you come from in the world, providers. And I said, look, I'm a sales funnel expert. I've been studying this for years. How about I come on and do some webinars for your guys and teach some sales funnels? Everybody was thrilled. And so I did that. And then what I did at the end of the webinar is I made a really inexpensive consulting offer. And the very first webinar I did, I think we had 160 accountants on it. You know, the topic was just so topical, and I got 40, so 25% of those people to say yes. And that launched my business, literally. And so in the space of about 6 weeks, I think I did about 70 one-on-one consultations with everybody from bookkeepers all the way up to chartered accountants and auditors. And that was really fascinating for me, because I learned something from everyone. And surprise, surprise, accountants don't sell products, right? They sell services. So obviously, we realized we had to pivot, and we had to rewrite a big portion of that book. And that's where the bestseller came from that I was telling you about, or that you mentioned a bit earlier, Accounting Clients on Tap. So that book is written specifically for the profession, and it teaches accountants and for other financial professionals really how to use online marketing funnels to get leads, and then obviously to sell their products and services.
There's a few things that I'm thinking that you're mentioning that are worth highlighting, and I'm going to go back a little bit. You mentioned earlier on in your career that you were finding that for you, the traditional accounting process of doing the accounting work was a little humdrum, but you were more excited about the consultative side of the business. And I know our listeners have both perspectives. There are many people listening in that are drawn to the turnkey predictability of accounting, where it's just basically recording the transactions, preparing the financial reports. And that's actually somewhat exciting. They enjoy being able to provide that information to their clients, and they find that very satisfying. But there's also a number of people listening in that are more drawn to the consultative services, where taking that accounting information and now actually engaging with the client at a deeper level, having actual conversations with them about now, therefore what next. You tapped on or touched on that. And what I thought was interesting is you then had that pivotal moment later on in your career where you went for so many months, 8 months, where you weren't taking an income, left the business without anything. And I think that's what a lot of people listening have experienced in their lives, where being an entrepreneur isn't necessarily always easy. And they're finding themselves in a position today where they're starting their business, and it's not out of choice. It's perhaps out of necessity. They're driven to do this because they have to make this work. And so I applaud them on making that effort, but that's exactly what you did. Now, it took you on a different journey. You obviously chose to pursue, you followed the shiny objects, and obviously went off on a tangent, but you came back full circle to the accounting profession, where I think you've been able to tie those lessons learned into the accounting world and help now accounting professionals see that the shiny objects, the internet, the elusive, how do I make this actually help me find clients and take on new clients, is something that you've finally figured out and you're helping accountants realize. So you've got these 2 books. Tell me about the most recent one that you just released.
So yeah, the most recent one is probably the most exciting one. It's a product that really works well for accountants. Maybe just before I tell you about it, let me just preface something that you've just said, because I think it'll really give hope to everybody that's listening today. You know, something that was such a revelation for me, and it wasn't just because I was working with accountants. At a point, I had the privilege of working with all sorts of other professionals, and you know what? We're all in the same boat. And there was one day after I'd spoken to about 4 or 5 of the different association heads, and I realized that when we are qualifying, when we are studying to become whatever it is, right? If you're a doctor, the patient just cannot die. If you're an engineer, the bridge can't fall down. If you're an accountant, your financial statements must be in terms of the standards, etc., etc. So what they're teaching us is to be the very, very best technical professionals that we can be. And even in the CPD and the CPE that comes in the years to follow, that's what happens. And so we don't know about things like marketing and sales and this thing called the internet. That's a completely new phenomenon. And so what is the first thing that a lot of people do is they go out and they start their own business. And so the way that translates is they say, well, I don't know how to get clients. But what I can tell you, and this is going to kind of lead into the book, is that everything when it comes to client acquisition, whatever the method is, it's just a system, right? There was a time that you couldn't draft a set of financial statements. Somebody taught you how to do it. You now understand the process, and you just repeat that process or that system every single time. And guess what? The balance sheets get produced exactly the same every single time, and it works. And really, that's all that this is the only difference between you and me is I've studied this process and I know how to get clients, whereas a lot of people don't. And that's really my life's work now, is to just transfer that information to say, listen, it's just a system. Pick your system. There's many of them. Pick the one that works for you and just go and implement it. And if you just do it over and over, just like any good system, as accountants, we know if you apply a system, you will get a consistent result. So hopefully that's going to give a lot of hope to a lot of people. Really, it's just a system and you can learn it. So coming to the LinkedIn book, really what that is, if you think about LinkedIn, all of our potential clients virtually are actually on LinkedIn, because as accountants, we deal in the business-to-business space. And LinkedIn is the biggest business-to-business network. I would say at this point, I think they must be knocking on very close to, if they haven't already exceeded, 700 million members. Okay, that is like a staggering amount. And these are all business people. Okay, this is not the nonsense on Facebook and Twitter where people tell you what they had for breakfast. People go to LinkedIn to buy stuff, to sell stuff, and to learn stuff, right? So it's very, very dedicated. And just to give you some context, in the South African context, where I come from, there are over 7 million people on LinkedIn. We only have 7.6 million registered taxpayers in the country. So, and I'm sure all the other countries are fairly similar in those ratios. So what that's basically telling you is that all of the economically active people, in other words, all of our clients are on LinkedIn. And not only that, but I think over 50% of the people on LinkedIn have an average annual income of over $80,000 a year. Okay, so not only are they there, the decision makers are there, and the money is there. So it's the easiest place to find people. So if you get onto LinkedIn and you just follow a very simple system that we put in place, it's very easy, firstly, to identify the people that you want, then to go and find those people. LinkedIn has the tools for you to reach out to them, and then we've taken it one step further to show you when the conversation starts, how you get them to a consultation, and obviously then how you close them from a consultation into a paying client.
So that process, that's what's appealing to an accounting professional. We like the turnkey aspect of things. It's a system, it's something I can follow, and I can have a predictable result.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, that's really what drew me to it. And it is predictable. So at its very core, here's why it's so predictable. So I actually say that you can get a minimum of 2 clients every month. Now, a lot of other people, when they talk about LinkedIn, will always say, oh, we'll give you a system and we'll guarantee that you can get X amount of leads. So leads are easy. I actually go one step further, because I know while everybody loves leads, we want clients. That's really what it's all about. So how can I actually be so sure that you can get clients? Well, it's really a numbers game. And one of the things that I actually do in the system, and we can talk about it later if you like, is I actually teach accountants how to do a consultation, or how to maneuver the conversation to a point where they get to a consultation. And then when they're on the consultation, I show them how to actually close somebody who's a complete stranger into a paying client. So that's really the process that we're going to go through. But in terms of actually getting there, it's, as I say, it's just a system. Mm-hmm. Once we put that system in place, you move literally very systematically through it. It's very easy. LinkedIn has created everything that we need, and it's just a case of following it. So since the dawn of time, okay, and you're going to love this, right? Since the dawn of time, and that's probably 4 or 5 decades, okay? it's actually the dawn of time in this context. The statistics have been the same across all industries. So I don't care if you're buying hamburgers. I don't care if you're buying a house, a car, accounting services, marketing services, there are always about 1 to 3% of people that are ready and willing to buy your product or service right now. Let me say that again, right? There's always 1 to 3% of people that are ready to buy. So if you put a system in place and you consistently reach out to people, right? If you reach out to enough people, even if you are terrible and you are the worst salesperson in the world, okay, just by virtue of the fact that you say, hey, I'm an accountant, I'm here, you are going to get people that are saying, oh, I was looking for an accountant, let's chat. And you will close clients. So we have the numbers working for us. And as long as we use the numbers, we'll close. Of course, if we put a good system in place, then we skyrocket the propensity to close. So we actually increase our conversion rate astronomically when we actually go ahead and do that. And that's really what I've done by putting the system together in the book.
Perfect. Now, I'm going to ask some interesting questions here. One of which is, as you've worked with all these professionals, people who have their businesses, people who are interested in getting clients, what have you found to be one of the things that maybe shocks you or has caught your attention as to why so many may be reluctant to begin this process? What typically holds someone back from trying or testing this new platform?
I think they don't understand it. So there's kind of two ways to look at that. I would say that probably the biggest underlying issue is is who's my ideal client, right? That is probably the thing that drives everything, and I spend more hours trying to work that question out than anything else. So let me give you a practical example of what I mean there. I've been doing this for years. I'll say to accountants, write down on a piece of paper, and in your heads, guys, do this right now. Write down on a piece of paper who your ideal client is. Write down the characteristics. And I will tell you that the average number of characteristics that come back is 6. And 2 of them are very universal. Because we're accountants, A, we want them to pay, and B, we want people to be ethical. So if you take those 2 issues out, that means that the average accountant can only come up with 4 defining, distinguishing characteristics of who their ideal client is. So how do you know who they are? How can you know where to find them? How can you know what products and services to give them if you don't know anything about them? Mm-hmm. So at its core, that's the real problem, is they don't know. And the problem is that it's so misunderstood. So who's your ideal client is the most difficult question in all of marketing to answer. And so everybody kind of falls apart at that point. Most of the work that I do revolves around that. And I promise you, it's the most valuable thing that I can teach you is who your ideal client is. Because once you know that, everything else, the LinkedIn system, any other marketing, pure logic in your business, the products and services you create, the types of clients that you will want to deal with become obvious. It's like, oh, of course. But you have to go through that process of really identifying who that ideal client is. Once you know that, everything else is color by numbers, and it's really, really simple.
I agree with you. One of the things that we emphasize is the avatar, as you're describing it, is basically defining what that business is, who that individual is as a business owner that you're interested in working with. Because just because they own a company doesn't necessarily mean that they as an individual are going to be a perfect client. And so identifying both the business type, and that's where a lot of people start discussing niches, but it's also the individual, the business owner. What type of business owner are you wanting to work with? And so as you clearly define that description, the more clearly you can define that description, the more likely it is you're going to be able to find them, because only once you know that information do you know where to begin marketing and looking for certain individuals. And once those characteristics are clear, it's obvious when you find the person that is in fact a plausible candidate to be your ideal client, because they stand out because they have all those characteristics that you've been paying attention and looking for. So I like how you describe that. So here's another question for you. As you've worked with a lot of accounting professionals and helped them implement these strategies, what have you found to be one of the things that they struggle with the most, that ends up being the downfall of their ability to successfully implement and grow their business?
Well, they get in their own way, I think. So again, I'll come back to this issue of niching. A lot of accountants will look at that and they'll have heart palpitations. They'll say to me, James, but I can deal with everybody. I say, yes, you can, but it doesn't make sense to do that. And so when I suggest to them that they narrow their market, they think I'm crazy, because obviously if I'm narrowing my market, what's going to happen is that I'm going to be losing out on so much potential business. But what they don't really realize is that when they actually go ahead and do that, they become the big fish in the small pond. That's when you become the specialist, right? You go to the GP, you can afford that. The minute they send you to a specialist, you're mortgaging the house, right? Same thing with us. And when you're the big fish in the small pond, you also get to charge what you're worth. And you get to deal with the people that you want to deal with, so it becomes a much more pleasurable existence. In fact, my fiance jokes with me. She says to me that I don't work. I just talk to my friends all day, and what I actually do is I coach accountants. That's what I do. I speak to them one-on-one all day, every day, and she's right. I don't work. I talk to my friends all day, and that's because I'm doing what I absolutely love to do, and that's because I've niched and I know the two things particularly well, right? So I know accountants particularly well. I mean, I've been in that industry forever, and I understand marketing and what I'm doing particularly well. So my only challenge in life is to take the marketing and to apply it very specifically to that particular accountant's practice that I'm dealing with. So every now and again, all right, one of those accountants will come to me and say, James, can you help me? Can you help one of my clients? So the answer is always yes, because we don't niche our business, we niche our marketing. And I have to work probably twice as hard in order to get the same result. And the reason is that their client, whatever industry they're in, doesn't matter, is not an accountant. So now I first have to go and learn that industry before I'm in the position to be able to give the same type of advice as I can give an accountant where I already know the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take that idea and apply it to your own industry as accountants, it becomes so much easier. You can build systems around it. Your staff become really good at it. You have more clients that can refer you to other clients. But just get out of your own way and believe that is that it's easy to do. And of course, the other belief is that we've got to do everything offline. I think COVID-19 has taught us that things have changed and they're going to have changed forever. I promise you, one of the hidden gems, and I've said this even before COVID, is that it's actually much easier to find people online and then to bring them offline into your existing practice than it is to find them using those traditional methods that you did before COVID that in many cases we can't use anymore. So that again should be very, very exciting to you. And as I've said, all of your people are on LinkedIn, and that's one of the reasons we wrote the book, and that's a great place to start. In fact, if I didn't do any other lead generation, I still have more clients than I knew what to do with just by using the LinkedIn methodology.
Yes. Now, with that, I'm going to actually break away into a little sponsorship plug here and mention that what James is making available to our listeners today is the opportunity to actually get a copy of the book. And one of the things that he's done here is he's given us an opt-in where you can go and kind of experience a little bit of what he is also offering. So in the episode description of our episode today, you can actually find a link to an opt-in where this is actually where you can find out a little bit more about the book and opt in if you'd like to be informed of not only it, but also download it and get a copy of the ebook version and use this for your reading and application in your own company. So take a moment and go to the episode description and get your own copy of this book that James has written to actually help accounting professionals market their businesses more efficiently and effectively online, especially in LinkedIn. And the other thing is James has made available to us links to go and listen to 3 webinars that he has recorded. And so what I want to do is just mention that in the episode description, you'll find the information you need to see how you can go and get 2 clients every month by leveraging the internet, as well as how to create a branded authority website to get 2 clients a month, and how to use lead generation funnels to get 2 clients a month. These webinars are designed to help give you the information you're needing to apply these marketing principles in your business to get the clients you need. So with that in mind, James, I've got a few other questions here that I'd like to discuss about you with your company. As you're running it, obviously your fiance was very kind to point out that you get paid to talk to your friends all day. When you're looking at your business, what are some of the driving things that you have, some of the goals that you would like to accomplish as you're looking at the coming year, let's say?
For me, it's really to scale. Like anything, we want to scale our business. And writing the book on LinkedIn was probably the first part for me in really being able to do that. So up until now, I've been doing a lot of one-on-one stuff, but now I've got to capacity. COVID has definitely helped my business along, because since 2014, I've been trying to get accountants online. struggled, a little bit of bat poop, and suddenly now they all want to be there yesterday. And so now I'm inundated. And the problem with that is it's great for me, but as somebody that's more of a giving type of person, I'm now starting to feel that I can't help as many people as I want to. So that was one of the reasons for writing the book. But now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to be doing a kind of a one-to-many. So on a monthly basis, we're going to be doing workshops where I take essentially what I was doing in the coaching environment, where instead of working one-on-one with people, I now work in a small group, not a big group, maybe 10 to 15 people. And I just make sure that everybody gets everything implemented, because, one of the big problems is people get very excited. Like I know a lot of people are going to download that book that we've given them now. I guarantee you only 10% are going to read it, and only 1% of the people, sad I know, are actually going to do anything about it. Right? That's just how we are. And as accountants, we work because we're busy. So when I get hold of people, and that's why I did the coaching, it's because I could hold their hand and make sure they got to the other side.
Yep.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the hand of 10 or 15 people at a time, still make sure that by the time they get through the end, whatever I'm coaching, right, whether it's the LinkedIn process or anything else, that system is in place so that they're actually in a position to get those 2 clients a month that we want them to get every single month, because their system is rocking and rolling. So for me, it's all about scale, going from one-to-one to one-to-many.
Love it. Love it. Now, regarding your business, you went through some challenges in the sense that originally you were following the shiny objects, and it brought you around to applying these principles in the accounting space. I want you to just kind of look back with me to your younger self, and with all those trials that you may have experienced, the initial years of trying to get this all organized and off the ground, what kind of struggles did you experience, and what advice would you give yourself?
Get the hell out of your own way. It's like just let other people help you. And even today, I'm still a little bit like that. Where I want to be in control. As accountants, we control freaks, right? We have to let that stuff go, because you cannot do it all yourself. There's just too much. You've got to rely on other people, and the more stuff that you can actually outsource, the easier and the better it's going to be for you, because you just cannot do everything yourself. So even in my coaching, the emphasis when I'm dealing with people is at a very high strategic level. So it's like, you got to do the stuff that only you can do as the accountant. Anything else that doesn't require you, that possibly can be outsourced, outsource it. If you're too small at this point to have staff, fine, go online, find somebody else that can do it for you. Obviously, if you're just starting and finance is a real problem, you just have to push through. But man, the minute you get to a point where you can hire somebody, just do it. And the other thing, which is so much easier today, which was such a problem when I started, and probably held me back for a good few years, if I'm honest, is the technology. So it was really, really hard. And again, because resources were always a little bit of a problem, not getting paid a salary for so long took its toll. And so in the earlier years, we had to scrape around, and we had to be a little bit more creative. And so the people that I was working with could only help me sort of on a part-time basis. So anytime I needed something, I was always stuck. Now what's happened is the technology's got a lot easier. We pay somebody a subscription, because that's the new thing, software as a service. We pay a subscription every month, and somebody else takes care of the headaches. And those systems work so well. And in fact, it was because of one of those systems that actually enabled me, whatever it was, 3-4 years ago now, to move out of a consulting environment where I was doing everything to being able to coach, because the problems that I and typically accountants have, okay, which are lack of time and lack of technical expertise, those are now all taken care of by being able to use these systems that are so easy to operate, and to get other people to do it for us, really at a reasonable price. So think about accountants, right? We do the books and things. It's a commodity, so therefore the price is not very high. Well, guess what? Building websites, building sales funnels, doing graphics, that's all commodity stuff. It's like, we shouldn't be doing that. Get other people to do that. It doesn't cost us much, and they do it much better than we do, and they do it way, way quicker too.
True. So you mentioned that you work with a coach. You've had a mentor. What are some of the lessons you've learned from the person that you've worked with?
I think the outsourcing thing was important, but I think one of the key things that happens when we get out there, and I'm sure everybody that's on this podcast, if you've gone out and tried to go and fathom out what should you do to market your practice, the problem is it's so overwhelming, right? There's so much stuff out there, you don't know where to start. And I think the biggest benefit with a mentor, particularly if you're very focused, is that person has been there and done it before. And so the real value you get is that your learning curve is shortened dramatically. So when you can actually speak to somebody and they tell you what to do, and you don't have to go and work out trial and error. Literally, if I think back, if I had taken a mentor up front, I'd have saved 3 years of my life. And I'm not even kidding. The amount of time and effort and energy that I put into this. So they've been there and they've done it. Just get somebody to show you the shortcut. Like that's the best thing you can do with a mentor.
Yeah.
Just get there faster.
I like the shortcut, the fact that the mentor is able to actually shortcut the process. The coaches that I've had and the ones that I work with, they've done a great job of asking the right questions to help me realize things that I'm not noticing or seeing so that I'm not blindsided. And then at the same time, they hold me accountable. As the owner of a business, sometimes we can easily procrastinate things or justify putting things off. But at the end of the day, if it's that important, why isn't it done now? And so they're able to hold me accountable. And I've found that same to be true. So with your business, you mentioned that you help people get 2 clients a month, or as many as 2 clients a month. The back number that I'd like to just introduce so that people can understand the significance is that takes a lot of effort in initially contacting businesses to get to the 2. Help us understand what that formula looks like. How many businesses do I need to be contacting to ultimately end up with 2 businesses that are going to do an engagement with us?
If you go back to that little formula that I spoke to you about before, let me relate this specifically to the LinkedIn process. So what I do on a daily basis on LinkedIn is I reach out to 100 accountants, right? That's just because that's the safe number. And accountants are terrible as a profession. They are awful. What can I tell you? Only about 20 to 25% of them will say yes. So let's just say we go with the 20%. If in any working week, I'm getting 20 people to connect every day, every single week, I've now got my 100 people. So I've now got 100 people that have said, yes, they're going to connect with me. So in there, if we run with since the dawn of time, the last 4 or 5 decades, that 1 to 3% of those people are going to be ready to buy, I'm going to have a very, very good chance of getting those people onto a consultation. So what I was finding before COVID is I would get quite a lot of leads, but I would get between 3 and 5 consultations. So these are people either sitting face to face with me, or because I'm in the online world on a Zoom call and we're having a consultation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding out about what their issues are. And in that scenario, I was obviously closing generally about 1 a week, give or take. So when I say you'll get a minimum of 2 new clients a month, it really is a minimum. It just kind of depends on how hard you're going to work. But if you put the numbers through, you will get them. And even if you're really poor at it and you're starting out and you're floundering around in the beginning because you're not quite sure how to do those consultations, if you think about it, if you're getting 3 to 5 consultations, you have to close at least 2, even if you are awful. Now, remember, I sell a very different product today to what accountants sell. Like if you don't buy marketing, like your business is not going to close. But if you are in a situation where you've got employees, right, every month you have a payroll to take care of. There's payroll taxes. Somebody's got to do that accounting. Somebody's got to pay it. Like that problem doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the sorts of real problems that accountants solve. So accountants should get a much higher close rate than me. But those are very average numbers. 3 to 5 people on a consultation every single week. And it depends on how good you are and how many of those you want as to how many you're going to close.
Exactly. Now, let's define 2 words here. When someone says, what is the difference between marketing and selling? How would you describe that?
So marketing is getting yourself out there, and I think of it more as education, telling people about yourself, where to find you, how to go about things. Selling is when they're now interested because you've told them that and you've got them to the table. Now you've actually got to convince them to buy the product or service. So those 2 things they're complementary, but they're actually very different. And in the LinkedIn scenario, we try to teach both because accountants are notoriously bad at selling. And again, I actually did some research into this. It was actually quite interesting. If you think about it, we have to go out there and we have to firstly promote our services, and others we've got to sell them. And then after that, we actually have to deliver them. So it's quite interesting. When we go out and we we offer our product or service to clients, and they say no. They're not saying no to us. They're just saying no to the product or service. But our psyche doesn't like that, because our psyche thinks, they're saying no to us. So what our psyche tends to do is it says to us, okay, look, you're useless at sales. Don't even go there. Stop it. Don't even go there, because if you don't go there, you can't get hurt. And that's why most accountants just block it off. We have this mental block to it. But you'll see, as you start to do it, and you realize it's a numbers game and it's not a personal thing, it really does become easy. And it's just a case of solving problems, right? So I hate this idea of selling. I don't like to sell. Accountants don't like to sell. So in all of the systems that I help design, the LinkedIn system is no different. What we do is, when we take people through a sales funnel, and a sales funnel is just a process, if you like, of taking somebody who's a prospect through that process, and at the other side, they become a paying client, right? So in that process, what we do is we solve problems. And when we solve problems, we turn the whole thing around. We don't have to sell anymore. They come to us asking us to buy. So in my case, I solve the problem of accountants not having enough clients. I don't have to convince accountants to get online now and get new clients, right? They're losing clients left, right, and center. Clients are under pressure. Cash flows are not coming in. Accountants are finding me, goodness knows where. They're coming out of the woodwork. Why? Because I solve the biggest problem that they have. And that's how we build the systems. Is remember, I went back to the niche. I said that in the very beginning. Who is it that you're dealing with? What is their biggest problem? Go solve that problem, and you'll never have a problem selling your services ever again.
Good. When you're describing marketing and selling, I liked how you described them, because they're similar to what we always say. When we're working with accounting professionals, we explain that marketing is lead generation. And the essence of it is, where is your avatar, your ideal client, and where can you go to find them? And as you get in front of them, they're going to raise their hand and say, hey, I might be someone interested in what you're doing. I'd like to know more, or I'm a possible candidate. I am who you're looking for. And at any point, you're going to get that contact information. And from that point on, they're now in the sales funnel. And the sales funnel, as you're describing it, and I like it, is essentially that nurturing process to help them see you as the expert, as a viable solution, someone that's capable of meeting their needs. And that education process can be instantaneous. I have a need, and you can obviously fill it. Let's talk seriously about your services. Or it can take time, and that time could be days, weeks, months. But the point is you're trying to get to that sales point where you're actually now going to find out specifically about their needs, talk to them one-on-one, determine their specific situation, and offer your services and ask for the sale. And those are all distinct stages in that process, with the whole idea of getting the engagement, getting that client to agree to your services and now work with you and have you take care of them. So I liked how you described that. The other thing that I'd point out is, for a lot of accounting professionals, there are some that are great at marketing. I've met numerous individuals that are really good at getting out into the community, marketing well. They're wonderful at doing blogs and so forth to try and find those business owners. But I also have met people that don't do well at marketing, but they're excellent at sales. They speak to a business owner and they're very compelling, convincing. They're able to establish credibility very easily and close the deals. So rarely do you find somebody that's good at both marketing and selling. And the nice part about it is when you know which you're deficient in, it's easy to then focus in that area, enhance and improve it, and then ultimately build this great marketing and sales system that you can use to get your clients. So well said. Let me break off here into a little sponsorship mention, and then we're going to come back. The first thing I'd like to mention is Universal Accounting Center. They have a promotion that they're wanting to extend here to you as the listener, and it's that of becoming a profit and growth expert. Becoming a profit and growth expert is key to your business, the success in growing your firm, because it first of all teaches you how to address the most common issue faced by small business owners, which is cash flow management. This program is specifically designed to give you the tools, the training, the expertise that you need in order to address this most common issue faced by business owners and literally take them from red to black. And then with that, you're also trained proven marketing and selling techniques that you can be using to go out there and find the clients that you're looking for and need. So consider becoming a profit and growth expert and look at what you can do today to actually apply these principles in your business. Go to the episode description to find out more about how you can literally become a profit and growth expert expert in your business and become the premier accounting firm in your area. Now, James, one of the things that I wanted to really get to is a few quick personal questions that I think get to the nut of everything. And the first is when you look at your business and the time and energy you put into working with these friends that you described, the accounting professionals, what do you find is the reward at the end of the day? What makes you happy about what it is you're doing with the people?
Them getting a result. So, when people work with me, they come in ignorant. And ignorance is not a bad thing. Ignorance just means they don't know it, and I do. So the process that I go through is one of transferring intellectual capital in my head. We also have a lot of other collateral that we've created that are tools that we give them, and it's quite rewarding and fulfilling for me to see the people grow. And every now and again, they'll come to me and they're very excited and they'll say, James, you won't believe this. I've closed a client that I've been trying to close for like a year. And I did this, and this. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening. And then I say, so how did you come about that? And they say, it's part of me now. It's the way I think. I'm just like that. And then they'll refer back to a couple of moments where I taught them something which was kind of unrelated. And they'll say, yeah, I use this principle and I use that principle. And it literally does become part of their makeup. So they don't even have to think about it. And they do. They speak like that. They put out communication like that. They create products and services like that. And it's a complete metamorphosis. It's like being a proud dad, I sort of look at them and I say, yes, my son, you have done well.
Yeah, I like
no better
that.
feeling in the world than that.
I like that. What's something that you're thankful for?
I think my fiance has been a big turning point for me. In terms of all that time that I told you where I had to spend sort of reinventing myself. I had some tough times going through all of that. Led to a divorce, unfortunately. Kind of focuses the mind a little bit. Did turn me into a better dad, because there was a time when I didn't see my kids because I was just so busy. And I think we often as professionals we get a little bit carried away, and we can often get lost in these things, and we kind of lose the wood for the trees. I met my fiance about a year ago, and she's like really turned things around for me. She forces me to focus. Like tonight when I'm finished with this podcast is date night, and dare I miss that, I will just be dead. Right, so I do not miss date night ever again. And those sorts of things, dealing with her, and she's quite attuned, to the profession. We have very robust conversations. We work together a lot. But I think bringing that balance into what we're doing and realizing that you can actually achieve it all. Sometimes you've got to work a bit harder. We get that. We're not shying away from that. But put systems in place. That's the key thing. Put those systems in place. And honestly, if it wasn't for her, I'm not sure I would always do that, because she's really good at putting me back and saying, okay, you said not tonight. Forget it. We're not working this weekend. So if I'm grateful, that's it. She's literally changed my life in the way that I do things. And guess what? I'm still getting it all done, notwithstanding taking some time off.
Yep.
Who would have thought?
Well, one, I think it's important that we recognize those people in our lives that are having that impact on us. I love how you've identified your fiance as being that person that's helping you achieve your personal goals, but yet at the same time giving you some purpose and sense of being. I love how you described your relationship, but you did share a word in there that I think is important. You mentioned the word balance. So some strive to have balance in their lives, but what does that mean to you?
I think because of the past, and I think because of the neglect, the balance for me is really having time to spend with friends and family. We don't do that a lot, and I'll tell you something really interesting. One of the key drivers in marketing when we speak to people is all about having more time, right? We all say we want more time, and when I ask accountants, I say to them, well, if you had more time, what would you do with it? You would hope that they would say, oh, well, we'll take more time off and spend with the family. But 9 out of 10 accountants don't say that. They say to me, I'll put it back into the business. So accountants, you suck at balance. Well, most of you, not all of you. There are other accountants that only work office hours, and oh man, I envy you people. But for those of you that were like me, I even as a practicing accountant, I used to leave the office at 8 o'clock at night. I look back now at those years and I don't know what I was doing. It was clearly crazy. So, yeah, just have that balance, because you also need to recharge. If you don't recharge, then you're not giving the best to your clients, or to your staff, or to your family and your friends, or to yourself. So yeah, I think it's sometimes it's a little bit of time for yourself, but for me it's time for family.
That's beautiful. I love that. What's a personal goal that you have for this year?
Make $1 million. Make $1 million and not kill myself in the process. So I think I say that kind of tongue in cheek, because I think that will happen hopefully when we put everything else in place. But I've had this long standing a goal, and I think it's starting to come to fruition. So writing the book was a big part of it, getting it published, and now we're about to step that up from a one-to-one to a one-to-many. So it's really for me to develop that, and probably to develop some residual income into the process. I have built some of that into the process that I have created, because I don't want to work this hard forever. It's okay to do it for a while, but you don't want to do that forever, and you want to get the reward. So yeah, build up some nice residual income and step it up in terms of one-to-one to one-to-many.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'd like to recap a few things here, and then I'm going to come back to James for a closing thought. But I really enjoyed our conversation today. I hope everybody was able to take some good notes and actually consider how a lot of these things actually apply to your business. A few of the things that we started with was the journey James had from being a chartered accountant to literally finding himself through the training and time that he put into internet marketing, coming back to the accounting community and offering some quality services to help find and grow with the LinkedIn marketing strategies, things that are actually proven processes that can be used to actually find and then retain new clients. And I think accounting professionals are always looking for that all elusive way of making a process out of their marketing strategy. And this is one of those things that can be done. And when followed, a process can be done in a way that can be turnkey, meaning you can turn it on, turn it off. It's something that you can process and have an expected result. And so I liked how James was able to share that with us. I really also like the fact that James was able to define and help clarify the difference between marketing and sales. It's a common question. It's a regular conversation that I'm having with accounting professionals. They're not clear in their own minds as to what that process looks like and how to define those actual words themselves. And so I'm glad we discussed that. The other thing that I thought was helpful is James did a great job of helping us make this a little bit more personal and realize that as we consider our own work-life balances, we need to identify some of those key individuals in our lives that have our best interests at heart, who care about us and who are giving us advice that maybe we should be adhering to find a little bit better balance. And balance is all elusive. It's a word that I think is a little misleading. There's no such thing as balance in the sense that every priority in your life gets the equal attention. We all go through ebbs and flows in our lives as to when things matter more most. And James did a great job right now of saying he's putting in that extra time and energy to reach some of his personal goals. But there is that time in our lives where we excel with our family and then we excel at work, but we have that ebb and flow that's going to occur. And I think that's only natural. So he did a great job of explaining that. And I hope you were able to identify with that and see how it applies to your life. So with all that in mind, let me just end with the sponsors. We obviously have our sponsors, both James and Universal Accounting Center. For those offers, definitely go to the episode descriptions and see what more you can learn about, first of all, taking advantage of his book offer and getting a copy for yourself so that you can see how these principles apply and see how LinkedIn can be a viable method for you to get the clients that you're looking for, as well as look at the videos that he's sharing that actually help introduce to us how we can in fact apply certain principles to get the 2 clients a month that we would like. I also invite you to consider becoming a profit and growth expert. See what you can do to focus on that main thing that all small businesses struggle with, which is cash flow management, and what it is you can do to be their profit and growth expert while also applying the effective, inexpensive, but yet proven marketing strategies to help you both market and sell your services with confidence. So with that in mind, James, do you have any final thoughts or any parting ideas that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would say I think probably the most important final thought is just know, as I said, it's a process, right? getting new clients. And I think the other thing that I think we have to realize is that the new normal is what we're seeing post-COVID. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the client acquisition methods that we had before. You really do need to learn to get online. I think it's a necessity now. So spend a little bit of time. I do love the LinkedIn process, but there's others. It's not the only one. Just find a system that really works for you and just apply it consistently. And you will get as many clients as you need to build your business. It really is as simple as that. Just consistency is the key word. And obviously a little bit of knowledge goes a long way as well. So that's what you want to do.
Well said. Yeah, I think one of the things that accounting professionals really get hung up on is they're great at what they do work-wise. They can obviously prepare phenomenal financial reports for their clients, but without a client, it doesn't matter. So it's taking that same passion and energy that you have for the profession of accounting and trying to find where you can comfortably do some marketing and sales to get the clients that you need. And as you have that confidence build, you're going to find it easier and easier to get the clients that you're looking for. So well said. Let me just end by thanking James for being with us today. I encourage you to listen to our other episodes and subscribe to the podcast to see what it is you can be doing to build the premier accounting firm in your area, and invite you for more information to check out universalaccountingschool.com. You can go there to see what you can do to apply these principles and see what other resources are available, training, certifications, coaching to help you actually grow your business and become the premier accounting firm in your area. You can also give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. So do take care, have a great day, and always remember this: if it's about accounting, it is universal.